Welcome to another episode of the House Husband Diaries. I am your host, Carter C. And let's do this before we get going. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to check to make sure that the sound was still through the USB, and it is, so you should hear me loud and clear. Not sure if you will, but you should. So let me know if it's better. And I'm going to continue today on the politics themes, different themes in politics. And for some of you who saw my, it will be Wednesday's episode, totally bashing the Democratic Party and their Iowa caucus, then, if you came back, this will probably make you feel a little bit better because I'm not really happy with the Republican Party. So what I would say is that the Republican Party has been out to lunch since about 2008. Now, I'll turn 40 this year. I was born in 1980, so for those of you that are older and wiser and have spent more time looking at the politics in America, you might have a different viewpoint. You might say, that it's been out to lunch earlier, and same with the Democratic Party. However, this is kind of, when I look back on it, this just kind of shows when everything's out to lunch. So I really think there are reasons that, started. There were foundational things that started earlier, maybe in the 70s, 80s, and it's just personified and become exponential over the 90s and 2000s, and it's culminated in this sort of 2008. You've got Barack Obama, you've got John McCain, and both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are just off the rails, and they have been. And there's just no such thing as solid Democrat, Republican, and bipartisanship in America. And politics in America isn't even about working together and trying to find common good. It's about trying to rile up certain segments of American population to argue and fight against each other so you can get votes and power and then be assholes to each other instead of trying to find common good for America. My opinion only, obviously, but I think it's the right one. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. So I'm gonna start this off, even though I've already started it. But I'm gonna start this off by telling you a fact that you may or may not know. I think it's pretty outrageous. So, as I just said, I was born in 1980. So the presidential election was in 1980, but the swearing in of the new president wasn't until 1981, right? So I was born at the end of May, 1980, and the presidential election was in November of 1980, and then new President Reagan, was sworn in 1981, January 20th, 1981. So I was not quite, or a little over half a year old. In my lifetime, other than the first few months, a Bush or a Clinton has been the vice president, president, or secretary of state the first 33 years of my life, and then ran for president for 2 of those years. So basically my entire life until 2016, and then Clinton still would not die and go away, and continued to fight for, hey, look, here we go, losing power again, just like we did in an early episode, like episode, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 12 or something like that. Anyway, the point is, my entire life, there has been a Clinton or a Bush in a position of power, like vice president, president, secretary of state, or running for president, my entire life. For 40 years, there has been a Clinton or a Bush at the top. And you want to talk about a democracy or a republic? I don't care if you're Republican or if you're Democrat. That's insane. Everyone who is 40 years or younger has had a Bush or a Clinton in one of the top 5 positions of power their entire life. Only 2 families in America, 330 million people. And you've had 2 families have a monopoly over power. And even if they weren't in power, the presidency, you go back earlier than 1980, 1981, George H.W. Bush was the director of the CIA. And then you look at, with the Clinton Foundation, and you look at what Bill Clinton's doing behind the scenes, and Hillary Clinton up until this day, and how they're involved in the DNC and this whole crap with the Iowa caucus and all that stuff. The Clintons are still very much involved behind the scenes in what's going on, and we still don't know who the Democratic nominee is. There's still time for Hillary to jump back in the 2020 race. How crazy! I know this is the Republicans' talk, but how crazy is it that a Bush or a Clinton? Now, thankfully, Jeb Bush seems to, be out of the race now, or out of the running. There doesn't appear to be another Bush that's going to be, anytime soon. And, Chelsea doesn't seem to be like wanting that kind of lifestyle, and she doesn't seem to be heading in that direction. But who knows, right? We'll see. So, back to 2008. John McCain had no business being the Republican nominee. I don't remember who the 2008 people, who was running against John McCain. But John McCain, for all that he did with it as a war hero and everything, the guy's sorry, he's just not a presidential candidate. The guy couldn't inspire a twig in the ground. Not at that point. Maybe when he was younger, he was very inspirational. I don't know, but his personality, not inspirational. If you served under him, maybe he was very honorable and whatever. And I know he's passed away, so I'm not trying to kick a dead guy, in the grave. But I'm not following that guy anywhere. When you watched him debate Barack Obama, it was embarrassing. This is really the best. If you disagree politically with Barack Obama and the Democrats, then you maybe agree more with John McCain and the Republicans, or you're centrist or who knows what you are, but you just couldn't get behind John McCain. It was real, and the polls showed it. I'm not saying anything here. I'm not saying anything that's new or revelatory or anything. I mean, it's I'm just pointing out facts. So then you fast forward after the John McCain disaster, and then it was, okay, well, who's gonna be the sacrificial lamb to go up against Barack Obama, because Barack Obama had the hearts and minds or whatever. I still don't know what people see in that guy, but that's fine. He got his 8 years, and as I said in the Democratic thing, I didn't fall under his spell. I don't think he's that great of a public speaker. I think it's very robotic, and it's obvious he's reading. There's no passion in it. He takes his time reading it, and he's very slow and deliberate, but I don't think that equals a great public speaker. I mean, he's obviously better than your average redneck or, somebody at Walmart, but okay, so is a lot of everybody else. Anywho, who's the Republican that's going to fight or go up against and debate Barack Obama in 2012? Mitt Romney. I think Mitt Romney's he was a fine choice. I don't really know all of his, policies. I think it's really ridiculous when you start talking about presidential, why do you believe in this president? Or what about all this stuff, and people throw 400 different beliefs or something, what is the president's stance on this? Or what about fracking and environmental and abortion and all the, whatever, healthcare and all this. It's I'm not going to agree with you on 42 different subjects. So why would you expect me to agree with the person I vote for on 42 different subjects? That's just not possible. So my viewpoint is I pick one or two main things, the biggest problems I see in America over the next 4 years. And then I look at the candidates and I say, what candidate is going to address my top concerns over the next 4 years? Or what candidate says they're going to address my top concerns? Because I'm not even sure that they actually are going to, and I'm not even sure they can, because a lot of times they have to get the House and the Senate's approval before they can move everything in. And now I also know in 2020, looking backwards, that the use of executive orders has multiplied exponentially over time, and there's just this carte blanche, like, I'm gonna just write this in because so much partisanship has seeped into American politics, and that's sad. It shouldn't be that way, So, anywho, Mitt Romney was the guy. I don't even remember who was up against Mitt Romney. I'm guessing it was Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush, and it was the same crowd as always. And Mitt Romney won, and it was like, okay, don't really agree with that guy and his. I think he's Mormon, Latter-day Saints and stuff. Like, I'm a huge fan of caffeine, so we probably are not going to get along that well. But I'm sure he'll do a fine job as president. He was governor of Massachusetts as a Republican in a very liberal state. My wife and I lived in Boston last year, and holy shit, Boston, you're off the rails. 100%. Just going into a coffee shop, the conversations that I hear or that I heard amongst people in Boston, off, just out in left field. Like, people in the South, those conversations never cross your mind. You never have them. You don't waste your time on them because it's just not reality. You go to Boston, you go to any coffee shop, and you've got transgender, homosexual conversations about, I'm confused of who I am. I got fired because whatever. I mean, it was the craziest load of conversations I've ever heard in a place ever. And I'm sure, that's just, it is what it is. So it's amazing that Mitt Romney, as a Republican, pseudo-conservative, right? Because he instituted in Massachusetts, like, pre-Obamacare, but what have you. So then we fast forward to 2016 rolls around, and it's a vacuum on both sides, right? You got Hillary Clinton, who, as we've already said, is just like, as a non-starter for me. And then Mitt Romney's already lost. He's damaged goods. He's like the ex-girlfriend. He couldn't beat Obama, so why would we vote for him again? And then what happened? So you've got Hillary Clinton couldn't beat Obama. Mitt Romney couldn't beat Obama. And Obama timed out because you can't have a third term. Obama totally would have won in 26. We'd still have Obama as president if we didn't have a 2-term limit written in, period. Because there's just a vacuum. Hillary couldn't beat Obama. Mitt Romney couldn't beat Obama. So the Constitution beat Obama, or amendments. I don't even know where it says you can't have more than 2 terms. So, now you're going to say, well, you're not a scholar. I'm not listening to you. I don't really care about that stuff, right? I'm not running for president, at least not yet. If I do, I'll read up on it. So then you go, okay, well, there's a vacuum. We have no good candidates on either side. And Trump, the businessman that he is, I don't agree with all of the things that he said. I don't agree with I probably don't agree with half of what Trump says. Probably. Whatever. But you know what I do agree with Donald Trump on? Bringing jobs back to America. I believe that the American middle class is the foundation of America. It has been the foundation of America forever. And the fact that we have sold that off through NAFTA and just shipping stuff overseas. I've been a part of it through accounting. Those jobs, we need to bring jobs back. We need to be loving our neighbors, providing jobs for our neighbors. We need to be buying from our neighbors, and all this other stuff is just, it does not bode well for the future. So Trump comes in, he sees the vacuum, and he says, hey, let's go. I'm going to run for president. And what happened? He wins. Why? Because he's engaging. He's so much better at debating than Mitt Romney or Hillary Clinton, and he's so much better than anybody else. So what happens when after Trump wins in 2020 later this year, after he decimates the Democrats, and then he's in Obama's situation, he can't run for a third term? We're back to 2016. We have no good Democrats and we have no good Republicans. That's it. The Republicans right now that are going to try to swoop back in, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, they're all terrible. They're all career politicians. Nobody wants to vote for them. Nobody did vote for them. And it's the same thing on the Democratic side. Bernie will still somehow be embalmed and alive. Same with Elizabeth Warren. Pete Buttigieg will be like 40-some, so he'll be an option. And then what terrifies me is AOC will be old enough, and her mind is so far out to lunch, she's going to run. And then who knows what that's going to look like. Then we're going to be socialist. Help us all. So it's disgraceful what we've gotten ourselves into on both sides of the aisle. And if you disagree with that, I'm sorry, you're out to lunch too, because there's absolutely no way to look at this and go that one side is somehow in a good standing. They're both in trouble. And basically what the future holds is those of us to say, hey, we need to right this ship. We need to come back to bipartisanship. We need to figure out what's the best direction for America in the future. So that's what I just wanted to say. It's not just ragging on the Democrats with the Iowa caucus. I think there's a lot of things that we could discuss in politics on both sides of the aisle, and that's part of what we're going to do here at the House Husband Diaries. So until next episode, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.